Hello, everybody. Welcome to PS 101 Physiology of Learning and Typical Atypical Development Section 2. My name is Ben Maul. I'll be your instructor today. If you are watching this video, that means you were either late to class by a vast majority of the class or you missed it completely. What I usually do for my classes is the day before class, I do a dry run, quote unquote, dress rehearsal, if you will, of the class the night before so that I have a warm up as to exactly the content that I will be going over for the next day. So this is kind of a chance for everybody to see what I'm thinking as I talk through things, and it's rough. It's not going to be the finalized version of what the class is. So please bear with me. Maybe you get some insights as to what I'm thinking as I go through the class. Now, to give a little bit about myself, since this is the first class that we are teaching, my name's Ben Maul. I am a special education teacher. I've been doing this work for about 20 years now. I have a master's degree. I've been working for Sonoma County Office of Education and their SCO-TREC EBD program. I work mainly with students who have emotional and behavioral challenges. I've been doing that for 20 years. Additionally, I work for North Coast School of Education as an instructor and practicum supervisor over there. I've been doing that for about 7 years. And I got looped into Lake County over the course of the COVID pandemic. And they seem to enjoy having me around, so they've asked me to stick around and do some more classes for them. So I've been working for Lake County for about a good 3 years as well. So that's a little bit about me. Let's talk a little bit about the course here. One of the top things I talk about in this little video that you see in the front of in the front page here is the book, Brain-Based Learning. A lot of the class centers around that book. And there is homework assignments associated with the class reading chapters for the book. We'll go over it in the syllabus here shortly. This first class, there's going to be a lot of talk about the syllabus, as well as discussion about some of the parts of the brain and what those brain's functions are in the human being. And a lot of focus about what the primary purpose of a brain is for a human being, which is survival. And we're going to talk about what kind of things that includes for people when we talk about survival. Specifically, a lot of talk about the fight or flight response. So as you come into the first class here, you should have, by this time, done the pre-reading assignment, pages 1 through 25, the first chapter of the book, basically. And if you look on your modules, assignments here, and I'm going to go to student view here so that I can see it through your guys' eyes. You'll see homework number 1, pre-course reading, homework number 2, reading, homework number 3, blah, blah, blah. Basically, every class, you have a homework assignment due, all right? And each class, you're going to have under your assignments what the assignment is. So for homework number 2, reading, you're going to have, maybe I should clean that up a little bit if it doesn't tell you the exact pages for that. It's going to be on the syllabus though, so let's go just check out the syllabus. Maybe that is the best way for me to go over it. There it is. I'm having a hard time. It's been a long day. Please bear with me. So here's the syllabus. And yeah, there we go. So for your first homework assignment, you should have done the pre-read chapter 1, read pages 1 through 25. Then before session 2, you read pages 61 through 76. Before session 3, those pages. Before session 4, those pages. Before session 5, those pages. And you'll see that the homework assignment is 30 points per homework assignment. So there's quite a bit of your grade is the homework assignments. So that's something to keep in mind, that you do want to get those homework assignments done. Usually what I ask for is 1 page for each one of those assignments. I want college level work, which means that I want you to to revise and edit your work. Make sure that you are using paragraphs, that you are using 12 space font, and that you double space. I don't worry about citations or anything like that inside the papers. I'm basically looking for a one-page response that's about 3 paragraphs long, that is nice, clean, easy to read, and not a wall of text. That's all I ask for as far as these writing assignments are concerned for homework, okay? Please make sure that they are legible, that it is obvious you revised and edited so that there's no clear spelling or grammar problems, and that you're not just giving me a wall of text. I've had people do that, believe it or not. This is a college level class. Please make sure you turn in college level work. That's all I ask on that. It's one page for all the reading. And as far as the reading's concerned, the reading, from what I've noticed from reading this book, is pretty easy reading, okay? And it does have a lot of technical terminology inside the book. I'm going to let you guys know that. I'm not really worried if you know that the amygdala does this or that function. I want you to have a basic understanding of what the functions are of the brain as to how it affects human behavior and how that is directly reflects upon your teaching style. Everybody here, as you develop as a teacher, should have some form of an understanding of how the human brain works and how your actions can change the behavior of your students through positive and negative interactions that you have with them, and that we should all be doing our best to focus on positive interactions with our students. That's the top thing I really want anybody to take from this class, any class I really give for that matter. If you don't understand all the terminology, that's no skin off my nose. As long as you're understanding what the basic gist of things are, and you keep this book around or make some copies for yourself and look back on it as you become greater educators the longer you get, and you go, I'm wondering what's happening with this kid, and maybe this book might help you out to find some of the ideas that might be going on with a kid of yours in your classroom. I hope it helps you, okay? So while I say read pages 1 through 25, I'm not saying you can skim through it, but we're all busy individuals, and if you're not exactly fully engaged in it, I get it. But please just make sure you're prepared to talk about some of the terminology, some of the ideas in the book and whatnot when we're in class. That's the top thing I'm really worried about, and that you are able to respond in your papers well. Okay. Additionally, there is a final project for the class, the CFC project. We'll talk about these things as the class goes on. And then you'll see participation points. If you're watching this video right now, then that means you missed class, obviously. If you want to make up your participation for this video, you are giving me a one-page response to the class and the material as well. So as where you have the one-page responses for your homework, you're giving me a one-page response to the video, the slides, what you thought worked, what you thought didn't work, what you might try in your classroom, what you would hope happens with that. Similar idea, one page, roughly 3 paragraphs, double space, 12 space font, blah, 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 blah. Okay? That's what we're looking at here if you are currently listening to my video. So the big things to keep in mind is that before every session, there's a homework assignment to be completed. And at the last session, there's going to be this big CFC project that goes with the course. Okay? And we'll get into that CFC project here shortly. All right. Where to start? Again, bear with me. This is a rough draft. I have had a long day, and I'm thinking about things. There's the course description right there. Let's see here. Announcements. Okay. I usually try to give an announcement every week of class just to talk about some of the things we're going over for the day. I posted my first announcement earlier this week talking about the schedule for the course and looking forward to everybody, seeing everybody. And then my Zoom meeting session link right there. And usually when I do an announcement for the week before the course, or for the day before the course, just saying, hey, I look forward to seeing people. Remember, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it's super quick. Sometimes if I'm seeing some things happening with papers, hey, good work on this. I really thought this was great, blah, blah, blah. I might say some words of encouragement. But I do a lot of announcements I do one announcement a week usually, and you can find information there. Additionally, something else I should point out, if you ever have any questions or needs, there's my email address as well as my phone number if anybody needs to text, call, or email. I usually respond best to email. So just to throw that out there. Let's look at the modules here real quick. Okay. So I'm still in student view, right? Yeah, I'm still in student view. So you got course introduction, the syllabus here, right here, the course interview. Do they have my Zoom link put in there correctly? It looks like they do. Okay, good. So they have my Zoom link there as well. So cool. Glad to see some Canvas interview stuff, the homeworks, and some agenda stuff. So let's look at session 1 here real quick. One thing I'm going to point out, I'm going to leave student view real quick, is in the slides, from what I've seen so far, this is what I see, all right? And you're not seeing this session 1 opening assignment right now, okay? Over the course of the slides, there's always going to be an opening assignment, okay? Every single week has an opening assignment where I ask the students to do a survey, or I ask the interns, I should say. I ask the interns to do a survey or to do a quick write, something along those lines, and have that submitted, all right? So the reason why, if I go to student view right now, you're not seeing that is because I open that up over the course of the class. So you're seeing there's no assignment there right now. So just to keep that in mind is that if you're doing that one-page response paper to this video, okay, I'm not going to worry about that opening assignment, right? Because that's, if you're there, that's how you get your participation points, basically. So that's a quick little aside about this class, okay? Let's talk about the CFC coursework here, the final project. And let's start with the homework 1 real quick. Homework prompt, open the document linked above, make a copy of it. So if you click on this link, you can make a copy of it. And I think I made a mistake, actually, when I said that I expect a one-page response paper for homework, because I totally forgot. Again, it's been a long day. You actually have this very nice little template here, all right? So as you read, annotate the text, highlight, underline, margin. As far as this annotate the text thing, you can choose to do that if you want, okay? The big thing I'm looking for is you filling out these particular boxes. And it's an A, B, C thing, right? 1 paragraph, 2 paragraph, 3 paragraph. It's basically what I want is 3 paragraphs, all right? Write a paragraph about what's asking for A, write a paragraph with what's being asked for B, write a paragraph about what's being asked for C. That's what I'm looking for when we're doing these homework assignments, all right? So there's the first homework assignment. And let's go over and check out the second homework assignment just to make sure that I'll just do homework 3 just to make sure that you have different ones here. I'll make a copy there. There's your copy. Boop-a-doo. There's a copy. So yeah, so this is read chapter 6 and 7, pages 95 through 123, A, B, C, and D. So they have a D for a couple of these. So that would be 4 paragraphs. Easy enough, follow those directions, and you're good to go. All right, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Let's look at that CFC coursework fieldwork connection stuff here. All right, so CFC fieldwork connection part 1. So course and fieldwork connection project form link. Boy, they do make this quite a hassle a little bit. So you got a lot of documents to copy. Again, this is my rough draft. Okay, inquiry plan. Okay, yeah. So it was like a lesson plan stuff. All right. So at the end of the class, here's what this is working, right? So for this connection here, prompt 1, here's the rubric. Here's an example of what an exemplary CFC final project looks like. All right. So guiding question. This particular person said, how do I create a brain-friendly classroom that maximizes student learning? And that's the general guiding question that everybody's going to have. And you're going to have strategies that are introduced to you over the course of this class. And this particular person's strategy that they picked in the course of this class was, we're going to have their students in the classroom move every 20 minutes and randomize partners that they're working with. So that was the brain-based strategy that was found in the book or in the slides or in any of the resources that we're going to go over that this particular person went over. They said, we're going to have my students move every 20 minutes and randomize partners. So here's the plan piece, what they talked about, blah, 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 what the brain-based strategy was, what pages from the book it was, some descriptions, predicted impact, and what kind of teaching stuff. It's a lesson plan, right? So that's what we're looking at. Reflections, so on. It's a pretty good one. That's about 5 pages, right? Oh, four and a quarter. Next steps. So this was an exemplary example of what a lesson plan they would want for the CFC final project. And you will, in the last session of class, have a presentation with your fellow interns about this strategy in the class. Easy enough, right? So we'll go over more stuff with that CFC final project. But that's basically it. If you've created lesson plans before, this should be no skin off your nose and not something you should freak out about in any way, shape, or form. Okay? Alrighty, So I went over homework, talked about homework, talked about CFC final project. The book. So as far as the book's concerned, everybody in this class should have a copy of the book. Okay? As I understand it, if you're in this program, Jamie had a meeting with everybody who's an instructor a couple weeks ago saying that all the interns are supposed to have their own copies of their book, that you all received a list of what those books were supposed to be. So hopefully you either got some sort of physical copy of the brain-based learning book or an Audible version. I know I like to Audible my book sometimes and go out for jogs or runs just so that I can get a little exercise, whatever have you. But you should have some form of a copy of the book. If you don't, I did include the first chapter of the reading right here so that everybody can have at least a little buffer here. I can't put any more chapters on that. Copyright laws don't allow me to do so, but if you put a chapter or two up there, that's totally fine. It is incumbent upon you to make sure that you have your own copy of the book. All right. Let's go into the slideshow. Oh, no. Let's see here. .googles.com refused to connect. Let's see. I know what's happening there. I need to do it on my own end. So let's do my drive. Bear with me here. PS 101. And where's my session files? There we go. Cool. There we go. Took me just a second. So let's start the slideshow. All right, PS 101, Physiology of Learning, Session 1, welcome. So the way I envision the class right now is what I just did right there at the start here for this past probably 15 minutes or so of recording, is that I talked to you guys about the syllabus, what to expect with homework assignments, what my expectations were with the homework assignments, the final project. Hope everybody's doing well. Hope everybody's doing good. Hope everybody's loose, I'm a nice guy. Don't freak out. If you have any questions or needs or problems, I'm always open to talk about. I'm a safe person to talk to. That's basically what I'm going to be doing for the first 15 minutes, what you saw. Now I'm getting into the slideshow and what we are going to be discussing. So we have an icebreaker. This would be the opening assignment, right? I showed that opening assignment thing that isn't open yet on the student view. I'll be opening it here now. It says, the do now. Start by saying hello and telling me how to address you. Please type in chat your first and last name, school, grade, subject, and role. Opening assignment on campus. What is your educational role? What do you already know about teaching? What don't you know about teaching yet? A favorite hobby, skill, or activity that you engage in? How did you learn it? And we have a little 10-minute timer here. I don't know if I'm going to take 10 minutes for that particular opening assignment, but 5 should do the trick, right? I think that would work. Agenda. Intro to the course, norms, objectives, icebreaker, kind of the strategies we're going to be working on. Talk about the final project. The brain basics: brain development, information processing, the big five, the unique brain and atypical development, and closing and homework. So, norms. Here's what we agree to: treating all members of the learning community with mutual respect, promote the success of each individual in the program as a whole, refrain from behavior that is counterproductive, offensive, or reflects bias, have your book with you in class, cameras on, speaker muted if you have background noise, maintain professional conduct in the online environment. If you don't know this by now, you will never, ever, ever, ever know me. Ooh, ooh. Seriously, every class has these kind of norms. Please be responsible. Please be respectful. Yada, yada. I really hope people know this by now. We've all been Zoomed to death over the course of the COVID pandemic. Should be nothing new to you. Objectives. Candidates will explain the importance of context for learning by listing triggers that can have a positive or negative effect on learning. That's kind of going with what I was talking about. The way we act in front of our students will give you positive and negative effects inside your classroom. You should be doing your best to be positive. I beat that drum. I know I sound probably negative right now. My energy level's really flipping low. Again, I am tired. I'm trying my best to be as friendly as possible right now. Describe factors that can affect brain development by reading about and sharing different things that affect the brain and learning, and explore brain-based strategies by discussing them with peers and thinking about how to implement them in their own teaching contexts. Connecting to the reading. In breakout rooms and small groups. Group introductions. Introduce yourself or say hello to the people in your group by name. I think you guys have probably been working with each other for the course of the past semester at least. I might be wrong. We'll see what happens. Until you all know each other well. Each shares their hobby and talks about why, how it was learned. So you're going to talk about your favorite hobby. Okay, I like that. As a group, review the definition of learning from the pre-reading and compare this to your own definition of learning. Interesting. Connect or compare this definition to learning skills for a favorite hobby. When done, thank your teammates and return to the main room. So, I guess that begs the question, and I did read the first chapter. Again, I'm just tired. What was the definition of learning? I should take a double check on that before I start the class. Nice thing to think about, though. Focus on strategies. Brain base. So we got 6 strategies here. Strategy number 1, connect personal experience to the reading, build relevance, trigger new learning. Let me see here. This class, so I got my nice little notes here. I thought so. And tell you what, let's look back here. You guys get to see a little background information on the things I get. So, strategy based. So, when specific strategies are used, I will call them out. For example, the norm slide I went over. Norms are a way of creating a safe environment. Okay. Strategies, I guess norms are a strategy that you should be using with your students. So I guess I should be not being as flippant as I'm being right now. So make sure that understanding that some of the things we talk about, like norms and things like that, you should be doing with your students. If you're having behavior challenges inside your classroom, hey, talking about norms and what normal things are that people do when they're in academic or work environments might be something you want to do with your students. Talking about being respectful or being able to be quiet while another person's talking or things like that. That would be a strategy that you could use in regards to brain-based learning. So if a student is not aware of what basic manners are, then guess what? They might not be able to do those particular manners you're expecting them to do. So having norms is definitely something that is helpful. All right. So this class will be strategy-based. When strategies are used, make sure to call them out specifically so that teachers understand the intentionality of planning and preparing instruction. So, strategy, connect personal experience to the reading, build relevance, trigger new learning. Icebreakers build a sense of belonging and connection to the learning. Norms create predictable and safe environment. I would agree with that, absolutely. Objectives brings attention to the learning goal and helps create a focus for the learning. Strategy consolidate learning through summary and comparisons, and strategy use of agenda to reduce anxiety. So these are all things you can be doing inside of your class. And as an example of what we would expect to see for that final project, that you could, this is a list right here. You can say create an agenda to reduce anxiety. You have your classroom agenda right there that talks about what the plans are for the day. You can consolidate learning through summary comparisons, talking about whatever. I myself am reading Animal Farm in my class, and I'm trying to have summaries of what the chapters are about every chapter because my students are having a hard time about the examples of an allegory. These animals are supposed to represent the proletariat, and that's really difficult for my EBD students to really kind of wrap their head around. So I try to summarize it for them and write things on the board and talk about comparisons and things like that. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about. So each of these strategies for someone who's a seasoned teacher should recognize it. And it's probably things your guys are doing right now inside your classroom as we speak. Okay? So going back to my slideshow. Course details, Canvas, syllabus, final project. So that final project bit is what I was talking about. Here's the final project, the classwork fieldwork connection. I bet you $1 million. There's the copy document that goes to that final project. Am I correct? Yep. So all that stuff I was talking about already with the final project. I probably, if I do this, I bet you $1 million I'm going to do this in class and not even remember this before, but that's what it is. Anyway, stretch break. 5-minute break. I will take this opportunity to go get myself a water. Yes. And anybody who wants to do the yoga pauses can do that. But that would probably be where I would take my first break. And it looks like I got a 5-minute thing. Brain basics. Brain basics. Neurons make connections. Oh, I did not want to do that. I want to see if there's any notes here. Insert a hands-on activity here if you would like. Explain how messages are transmitted in the brain and that neurons will increase the number of connections to other neurons during learning experiences, which causes the likelihood of transmission to occur with greater speed and accuracy. So, sounds like I might want to think about some sort of... Oh, here's one fun. So, brain basics. The brain is a wet, fragile mass, just over 3 pounds. It's the shape of a grapefruit, walnut-shaped. Shell equals cranial bone, sitting on top of the spinal column and supported by a skeletal system. Non-stop working, 2% body weight, uses 20% calories. I don't know what that means. Each lobe is specialized. External part of the brain is divided into right and left lobes, brainstem, and cerebellum. Okay. And it sounds like I might want to get a hands-on activity here. All right, so movement. Fist for a brain. I remember this. Jamie Buckner did this with us recently. Spinal cord equals the forearm. Brainstem equals the wrist. The limbic area equals the palm. Amygdala, yada, yada, yada. I'm not going to read those, but I am going to see this video real quick. 6 minutes. Let's watch.
I want to share with you a model of the brain that many people I've shared this with have found it very useful. I'm going to share it with the whole group because it's something you always have with you. So let's put up your hand for a minute. Choose either hand, doesn't matter. Tuck your thumb inside and your fingers over your thumb. And then turn it so I can see your fingernails. Okay? That's your brain. If you put up right beside your head, you'll see that this front part right here is right behind your forehead. And this is the rest of the brain, the back of the brain back here. Okay, so this is your brain. Let me share with you the parts of the brain. I want to do this because just as you were saying that when students understand about neuroplasticity, it gives them great hope and it frees them to actually be able to learn in a different way. When people start having this model of the brain that's useful to them, they can use it to help them self-manage. So I'll tell you a story about a 4-year-old after I show you about this brain, okay? So this is very simplified. This is not really how the brain is. This is a model that's useful, okay? So think of your arm as a spinal column. Spinal column is super important because it carries neurological information from the major organs in your body to your brain. So do you ever have the feeling in the pit of your stomach? You're scared? because there's neurological matter in your stomach, your intestines, that communicates directly to the brain, lets your brain know there's a problem here. Does your heart ever hurt? You feel heavy in your heart? Neurological material in your heart as well. So neurological material all over your body that the messages get sent up and down the spinal column. Now these messages go directly to the brain stem. So right here, sort of the middle of your palm, is the brain stem. That's the part of the brain that's responsible for the major life functions. These are the parts that the activities of your body that keep you alive, breathing, digesting, okay? All those in here. If you put your thumb across, it'd be handy if we had opposing thumbs, because it's really, this, be all of it. This would be the limbic system. Various parts of the hippocampus, the hypothalamus, amygdala, all those would be in there. That's, to simplify it greatly, the emotional seat of the brain. You'll notice how close it is to the brainstem, right? Very, very close. Messages go very, very quickly back and forth here. Then if you fold your fingers down, this is the cortex. So that wrinkly part that you always see in those pictures of the brain, that's the cortex. And there's various parts of the occipital cortex, the temporal, prefrontal, the part where many of the executive functions reside, though not all, many of the processes, the prefrontal cortex, which is just the fingernails up here. Really very, localized part of the brain, but extremely important. And most recently developed in human beings, okay? So these parts were developed, the more primitive parts of the brain were developed earlier. So the brain works most effectively when it's working in an integrated manner, when all the parts of the brain are communicating with all the other parts of the brain, where back to front is communicating, side to side is communicating, all the parts are communicating. That can happen when we're well rested, got good nutrition, exercise going, not a lot of stress. When those things aren't in place, the brain operates in a less integrated way. So what we're going to be talking about today is this portion here. What I want to do is give you a minute to explain this to your neighbor and let your neighbor explain it to you. Because when you can explain this to a student, we're going to take it a little farther. This is just step one. When you can explain this to a student, it can be very useful for students at different times. Now I'll tell you the 4-year-old story, and then you can practice. When the limbic system gets loud, when we get an emotional overload, our limbic system gets very loud. Our physical body gets very agitated. It's all a noise in the system. It's like our prefrontal cortex goes offline. We flip our lids. Very hard to do rational thinking when these parts of our brain are very agitated or very noisy, very activated. So what we want to do is get the prefrontal cortex back online so that we can be doing some good, clear thinking rather than this emotional thinking, which is usually, I got to get out of here, or I got to fight. That fight, flight, or freeze thing. That happens really without the input from the prefrontal cortex. So here's the 4-year-old boy. His teacher had taught the whole class about the brain. And one day this 4-year-old boy came up to her and he said, Miss, Miss, Miss. And she realized that he was having a situation that he knew he was flipping his lid. He didn't want to. She helped him calm his system so then he could find his language again to talk about what was going on and why he was upset. But this was really helpful for him. It's like flip his lid. For me, there's times when I get activated and I'm thinking, Karen, you're flipping your lid. Let's get your body calmed down here. And calming down through the body, we'll talk much more about this through these days. Using the body to calm down is often more effective than trying to use the rational mind to calm down when the rational mind isn't online to start with. So trying to recruit the rational mind to help you get the rational mind on board isn't as effective. So that's why I think this is really useful with students. It helps them get a picture of what it is they're trying to do, how it is they're trying to learn to self-manage.
The top part I always get about those particular videos when we talk about the brain and flipping your lid, specifically for me, is how easy it is for students to be dysregulated. The big things that she talked about there was, if you're well rested, if you've had food, if you're hydrated, if you do not have stressors in your life that don't cause you to flip that lid, you're in a better position to learn and to access things and to discuss. How many of our students are truly having all those needs met in order to have an ability to learn and be able to be effective in our current everyday environments? I mean, I'm teaching high school right now. It's been a while since I taught high school, and holy cow, I totally forgot all the drama that's associated with high school, on top of all the other things that are going on in our lives right now, what with pandemics and fires and war and all the other awful things, social media and yada yada yada, screen addiction. All these things are causing our students right now, in my opinion, that to flip their lids on such an incredible rate right now that it's difficult for me as a teacher to try to get them to get back into the position where they can effectively learn. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who's had those feelings in regards to that. But that's what I take the most about it when we talk about all these different parts of the brain that is associated with that she uses her hand and forearm to show. So, my take on that, really. Brain based learning is ESP, engagement of strategies based on principles of how the brain works. Strategy, movement, breakout rooms to explain this model to each other. The brain basics and brain based learning. As participants move through the motions, review the following brain statistics. I don't think I'm going to do that. Have participants stand and follow the directions on the slide as you read and demonstrate them. This is the approximate size of the brain. Thumbs, maybe I am going to do that. Thumbs are the front and crossed as a reminder that the left side of the brain controls the right and the right side controls the left. Knuckles and the outside of the hand represent the cerebrum or thinking part of the brain. Again, I apologize. This is me doing a rough draft to let me know exactly what I'm working on. So have participants open fists while keeping knuckles touching. I'm questioning if this is something I want to do inside the class. Adding movements. Okay. I'm going to think about that one. I might eschew it. When learning is the goal, the big five. Learning is the treasure. The purpose of learning is survival, right? So if survival is the objective, then learning how to survive is the hunt. Learning is the treasure we all seek. There are 5 clues on this journey of learning. We will explore each one over the next several minutes. Okay? The purpose of learning, survival. Context for learning is more than just the location, internal and external. Is it relevant? Is there urgency to learn it? Are my friends here for support? How do I feel today? Am I hydrated? What is the temp? Lighting, noise level, smells, comfort in my seat. Do I have background knowledge on this topic? All these different things that might cause triggers to start the process of learning. And when we talk about triggers, that's an interesting way to bring it up, is because triggers can mean different things. When we think of somebody being triggered, in today's society, we generally connotate that as something that is negative. Something happened that is negative that triggered somebody to get angry or upset about something. But triggers can also mean something that starts the process of learning and can also be a positive thing. It's kind of like consequences. Consequences can be both positive and negative, right? That's the very basic idea of behaviorism. And when we talk about consequences, consequence can definitely be punitive. That's typically what it means by a negative consequence. And somebody can be punishing the behavior. Or again, your consequence can be positive. If I choose not to eat lots of sugary snacks over the course of a 3-month period, I might lose 10 or 15 pounds as a positive consequence of that. Same idea with triggers, all right? So triggers are the information coming in, internal or external, that teachers can prime the learning and set their stage. Process differs depending on the situation, hand on hot stove, synapse connection. Process for learning. I really don't like how these notes are written. I'm going to want to maybe bone those up a little bit. So processes for learning is a stress response, and the amygdala is involved, or sharp attention and focus involving the frontal cortex structures. Yeah, I'm going to want to bone up these notes so I'm not sounding like I'm just making, just like reading off the notepad, right? Which is what you guys are seeing me do right now. But that's the basic idea, is that we are the ones who start the context with situating the learning, and we're trying to trigger our students to want to get into their learning modes. Triggers stimulate the learning, can be internal or external, and not all sensory input will trigger attention and learning. The goal is to be more purposeful about what triggers you employ, how, and when. Okay? Positive and negative triggers. Use the Jamboard. So we got a Jamboard here. Huh? Let's take a look. So use the Jamboard. List triggers that create a positive learning environment. Use pink Post-its and these triggers. So let's see here. Can I do anything on here? Let's see here. Testing. Save. Yeah, there's that. Okay. So let me see here. Delete that. Looks like we're going to be able to use that to list triggers that can create a positive learning environment and those that trigger a negative learning environment. Use your book. So you got your book here, all right? Group introductions, group thank yous, return to main room. Interesting. So what I'm envisioning that to be is that it is a Jamboard session where people put their stuff there, list triggers that create a positive learning environment. So use pink Post-its, and those that trigger a negative learning environment. Okay, got it. So, yeah, okay, I see what they're doing. So we'll have like positives here and the negatives here. Got it. Okay. Boop. When learning is the goal, the big five. Processes are activated. So the creation of new connections between neurons or nerve cells in the brain. This is the processes. Essentially, neurons send a message to another and calm and can start their learning process by that. This can also activate other processes in the brain, stress response pathway, attention focus pathways. If you want more focus, sharper attention, activate the sympathetic nervous system to get the brain and body ready for serious, urgent business, amp up for urgency, risk, or excitement. If you want a student to calm down, use soothers, softer voices and expressions to release serotonin, which decreases anxiety and can improve learning. This is so myself. I completely get what they're saying here, right? If a student is shouting at you, what's it natural for somebody to do? Like, let's say you don't have the training that teachers have, and you're just walking down the street, and somebody runs up to you and goes, "Hey, you're dumb," or something like that. What's our natural response to do? It's to perhaps either fight, flight, or freeze, right? And if it's fight, you might shout back and say, "Don't you say that to me. Don't you dare." And then he might amp up. It's just a natural reaction to amp up, amp up, amp up. It's our reactions as teachers to try to calm things down. And if we allow ourselves to get amped up with someone who's amping themselves up, you're going to cause a bad situation. This is basic, fundamental, just learning 2.0 about what to do in the face of behaviors. And it's one of the toughest things that a lot of first year teachers have to deal with. I know myself, as someone who's been teaching 20 years for students who have emotional and behavioral challenges, still have trouble myself not getting amped up when I have other students telling me to F off or something like that. So it's a real learn practice sometimes, especially if you're working in a more difficult environment. If you're an EBD teacher like myself, you know what I'm talking about. But it's very natural for us to get amped up. We need to do our best to diffuse situations, and one of the best ways to do it is by keeping yourself calm. Okay, so that's what I'm going to bring up in regards to that in class. Processes within systems, new connections between neurons, systems, attentional, stress response, emotional pathways, cognitive processing. I really don't like these particular slides right now. They're very, very stilted. Oh, there we go. If you want more focus, sharper attention, activate the sympathetic nervous system to get the brain and the body ready for serious, urgent business. Amp up for urgency, risk, or excitement. If you want a student to calm down, that's what I just said. Get the brain and body ready for serious, urgent business. Triggers urgency, risk, excitement. Do do do. Okay, some of these I'm not really a fan of. Systems within structures. The mind and body connection. Time for a break. Okay. No, I will not be doing a break then. Okay. Information processing. The brain processing model. Short-term memory, working memory, long-term storage. In, out, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's see here. How your brain processes information. We got another video. Okay.
You're no robot, but your brain is filled with circuits too. Those circuits aren't made of wires. They're networks of neurons that relay messages around your brain and body, and they're responsible for everything you think, do, and say. Your sensory circuits carry signals from sense receptors to your brain. Motor circuits send commands to your muscles. Even your quick reflexes use simple circuits. Other, more complex circuits are responsible for memory, decision-making, and your perception of the world around you. These networks can be incredibly complicated, but where do they come from? Before you're born, your genes build simple circuits in your developing brain. As your neurons and their connections change from new experiences and environments, those simple circuits become much more complex. These changes happen mostly in childhood, but continue over your whole life, all a part of building a better brain. Even R2-D2 can't do that.
Oh, I don't know about R2D2. She just talked smack on R2D2. That's Star Wars, yo. Don't be talking smack on R2D2. So anyway, types of input, the type of things we get. Pre-existing, new sensory, explicit, and implicit. So, we did the video. So when we're talking about pre-existing input, you reflect on things, right? You already had something that happened in the past, and maybe something happened that brought that back up, and you reflect upon it. New sensory input is things that happened just recently. Explicit, facts, stories, locations, and then implicit, non-conscious, implied, picking up on clues. So explicit things are things that actually do happen. You see it, you know it's there. Whereas implicit is things that you kind of make up on your own by things that you recognize. Collaboration in the classroom. Chapter 1, Fundamentals of Brain-Based Learning. Applying learning ideas, shared slides. Read In the Classroom Strategy. Tell how this is a brain-based strategy. Discuss how you could use it in your teaching. Elect a speaker to share. So Padlet or group poster, make a copy of this Padlet. Okay. So we'll have a Padlet here, I guess, to delete the prior student information. Show students how to work Padlet, okay? Or use the shared slides. We also have a shared slides thing here, okay? To create a classroom poster and have groups write on large Post-it notes. Assign students to 5 groups. Group 1 gets page 18. Group 2 gets page 19. So you do need to have your book here for these classes. Group 18, sensory input on page 18, page 19, page 20. And the classroom bits, okay. 5 groups. Again, I apologize. This is my rough draft. Read in the classroom. Okay, so on each one of these pages, okay, there is a in the classroom part. Discuss how you could use this info. Record your summary. Elect your speaker to share with the class. Okay. Got it. So this will be a breakout group session where people create slides, a quick slideshow or Padlet. Yeah. If you've been through the Lake County program, this should be old hat by now. You create a slideshow, and it's probably 1 or 2 slides of that. Read in the classroom strategy. Tell how this is a brain-based strategy. Discuss how you could use it in your teaching. Elect the speaker to share 60 seconds. And then 10 minutes go. Got it. Okay. Again, the book is necessary for a lot of these classes. Keep that in mind. The unique brain, age, gender, genetics, environment, and luck. The 90-10 switch. Okay, is there going to tell me what the 90-10 switch is? Apparently not. I might want to take a look at that before the class starts. The Unique Brain Jamboard. Your task. Directions on Jamboard. Go to Jamboard, 8 groups. Find the slide with your group number. Complete the reading. Prepare a presentation to the class how your topic affects brain development. Elect your speaker to share. So same kind of idea. Here's this Jamboard. What makes each brain unique? Directions. Find your slide and join your breakout group. Read about your topic. Prepare a slide showing the important information. Prepare a 60-second slide. And I'm assuming yes. So you're going to need the book again, or we're going to go into different pages. So one group's going to have slide 2. One group's going to have slide 3. One group's going to have slide 4. One group's going to have slide 5, and so on and so forth. So, and it's probably going to be groups of 2, because I think, it says 6 groups there, because I think we have 20 students, and if there's 12 slides, so it might be groups of 2. So find your slide with a group number, complete the reading. So each one of those slides will have some reading with it. Prepare a presentation to the class how your topic affects brain development. If you're watching this slideshow and you're bearing with me as I talk my way through this, don't worry about that part too much, though. If you want to do it and read into the book a little bit more, it looks like we're looking at chapter 2 for this particular assignment. So if you want to skim through chapter 2 to look at some of this stuff, you're welcome to do so. Okay? And looks like I have some previous stuff on here that I might need to erase, which is fine. Oh, okay, and then there's just those. Okay, so there's 9 slides, so maybe it's groups of 3. Okay, cool. The unique brain, the good news. Poverty. The good news. Poverty is my note. I don't know if that's good news or not. Okay. Instead of never changing, the brain is continually changing. A message of hope. Well, that is the good news. Instead of never changing, the brain is continually changing. It's a message of hope. Intentionality. Every choice, habit, and the learning you orchestrate will either help or harm the learning capacity of each student. You do have a lot of power as a teacher, all right? You have the power to be positive. You have the power to be negative. If you're being negative in your classroom, your students are going to pick up on that. And your choices, your habits, and the way you orchestrate yourself will affect the learning capacity of each student. Do students do well if they feel like they're being told that they're stupid? Not really. I don't think so anyway. Age, gender, genetics. 90% of our DNA is like all others around us. Environment, luck. Well, great notes, whoever wrote that. Anyways, collaboration in the classroom. Chapter 2, why each brain is unique. Applying learning ideas. Read in the classroom strategy. Okay. So we got another in the classroom strategy here. We got another Padlet here. So we got that. Strategies in the classroom, chapter 1. Why do we have so many of these Padlets here? All right. Tell how this is a brain-based strategy. So here's what I'm going to say to anybody who's watching this video. It looks like you're going to have to read chapter 2, at least skim it a little bit. Look at the brain-based strategies. They're very easy and very quick. They're the really gray areas in the middle of the book, and I'm kind of flipping through my book as I speak here. They're very clearly denotated, right? So if you want to read the in the classroom parts on the chapter 2, just so you get an idea of what kind of themes we're looking at, please do. That would be actually things that have strategies that you can choose to use in your class. That's kind of like the big piece here, all right? I am a little annoyed that we're doing a lot of these different kind of similar assignments. So just to throw that out there, it looks like there is a lot of big breakout group stuff. Then we're going to the homework. Read and write. Homework 2, reading, pages 61 through 76. Annotate the text. All right, have your text with you in class. Complete the reading reflection document. And then CFC, start thinking about your teaching context and what strategy you may want to try out next week. And then exit ticket. There's always going to be an exit ticket for each class. Throughout the class, several brain-based strategies were used intentionally. Which ones resonated with you and why? How did it relate to you in the class? Setting a so here's the strategies, right? And the things you can talk about. I've done enough classes for Lake County and North Coast to know that people should know what Padlet is, or jigsaws, collaboration, all these different things in regards to these strategies. So hopefully you're able to talk about some of these, what they resonated for you, and what did it relate to what you learned in class. Reflection requirements. Good reflection accurately describes the main points and important details that you connected with the strategy used discussed in this session. The best way to think about this is to reflect on a particular strategy that you liked and write about how you might implement it in your classroom. Okay, so things I've personally learned over the course of me reading through this material and doing my dry run is I'm going to want to clean up some of these notes before I do the class tomorrow. I do like the Padlets and the things like that. And I think there is going to be some good group discussion and to talk about some of these brain-based strategies. But myself, I'm going to need to clean these up a little bit. And if you suffered through this dry rehearsal with me, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it. It allows me to kind of think about kind of the things that I need to think about for the class here. And I'm going to do much better in the class. Trust me, this helped me out a lot. If you are doing this for a makeup assignment, talk about some of those brain-based learning things that we talked about. Look at your book, chapter 1 specifically, and look specifically at the in the classroom bits is what I would suggest. And in your reply to me for your reflection, your one-page reflection for this, bring up like one or two of those in the research in the classroom things and talk about them. I would accept that if you just like said, here's one of the in the classroom things I checked out. I like it because, or I didn't like it because. And then here's this other one that I like because, or I didn't like because. And then your third paragraph can be like, I don't like how Mr. Maul made me do the dry run for this. He obviously was stumbling on some things, was very tired. He needs to wake up. What are you doing, Ben? Go to bed. Your 9-month-old drove you insane last night. I get it. Yada, yada. You did something like that, I'd give you. Hey, guess what? You paid attention through the whole video and you listened to what I said. You get your full points. So there you go. If you put those words exactly how I put it right there in your final paper, I would know that you watched this video and suffered through it, and I would thank you. Anyways, I hope this was helpful. This first session of class, the big things I really want people to take away is the CFC final project, the homework assignments, that in the reading, there's those in the classroom strategies that's going to be talked about a lot in the books. These slides do rely heavily upon the book. There's going to be breakout sessions that have Padlets and talk about the book a lot in this class. Keep those things in mind. And that's it. So I thank you for your time, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next class in person. Thank you so much.